Refreshing. Take two. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be from. Welcome to Inside the Reviewer Studio. We're giggling because I am button challenged. If you watch any stream that Tabletop Rebellion does, then this is a known fact to you. But our wonderful panelists got to experience firsthand today that, you know, there are a lot of buttons to push, and sometimes you miss the one that says go live. We are here, and we are live because the button tells me so. Thank you guys. Thank you all. Thank all you wonderful people for being here with us today. I'm gonna blame it on being a little starstruck and a little fangirl about these amazing people that are on the panel, and that's what we're gonna go with today. But we are here to talk about creating a brand. Why is it important? Why can't I just find a name and do a thing and go from there? Because that's kind of what I did when I first started. So they're going to tell us some better tips and tricks on that and how we can improve that brand and why it's important. So that sounds about right? That's what I told you guys we were talking about today.
I think that's what I'm here for.
I think that's what I signed up for. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Right day. I'm on the right day. So let me introduce these amazing people. First off, we have Stephen Buonocore, the Podfather of gaming. My bio here for Stephen, let me rattle this off. I may have had 5 bios to choose from Stephen.
There was a lot of words there. I didn't think you were going to use it all, but you know.
We didn't. But Stephen is a hobby game entrepreneur, game media personality, and game industry veteran. He founded Stronghold Games in 2009, provided vision and guidance for hundreds of game titles. He is a co-host of Board Games Insider and Board Game Breakfast, and he has appeared in numerous television, radio, and game media outlets to promote the hobby. And Stephen also serves on the board of directors for the Jack Vassal Memorial Fund.
Thank you for having me, Kim. This is awesome. I am very excited about talking with everybody.
We're having fun already.
Yes.
Do you want to add any more of the rest of your bios in?
That's pretty good. You know, we can cut it there. So give everybody some time here.
Next, we have Rachael Blaske, who I have admired through all of her different journeys in the board game industry. She is now a brand strategy consultant in the tabletop industry, specializing in providing direction and connections for clients to problem solve and promote their brands. She is the former CEO of 525 Labs, channel marketing for Wise Wizard Games, and she is one half of the dynamic duo of Coast for You're Invited, a weekly live stream giving tips and tricks on how to run a board game publishing company.
That's me.
That's Rachael.
That's me. I do that.
Next up, we have Lauren Nepomuceno.
Yes. Ooh, you got it, girl.
I've been practicing. While the button wasn't working, I was practicing. From XYZ Games, Lauren, by day, is a digital strategist and business analyst, things that are near and dear to my heart too. By night, she owns an independent board game publishing company with friends, and she conducts branding and product workshops and brainstorming sessions for a broad range of clients, whether they're big corporations or her own company, XYZ Game Labs. She outlines future visions and how to transform one's brand or product and align it with the identified mission, vision, values, and why at the organization. Thanks for joining us, Lauren.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Last but certainly not least, we got him this time, you guys. He wasn't able to make our last stream, but we pulled him back in. And so, Ruel Gaviola from Lookin Kickstarters, and I have to let we got a few little jokes about we included you as Lookin Kickstarters, and everybody just read it as Ruel Good Looking.
Good looking.
Yeah, that's what they write. I mean,
I'm okay with that.
Observation.
I'm perfectly fine.
So that's what we went.
Brand.
I agree.
Ruel is based in Southern California. He co-hosts Good Lookin Kickstarters with Becca Scott. His live streams, videos, podcasts, and written articles have been featured on Geek and Sundry, Renegade Game Studios, Roll20, Gen Con TV, Board Game Geek TV, Game Trade Magazine, and even more. So welcome, Ruel.
Thank you. I do want to add one thing.
Here, man.
I want to add one thing real quick. I just started a show called R&R with Richard Ham, aka Rado, and we just premiered that on Wednesday. So I'm really excited about that. That's the one thing I wanted to do. Thank you.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Like, I want you guys to know that Peter has been to a couple of our streams and he's aware of Kim Button issues. So thanks for coming back, Peter. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started on our various questions. I want to get right into the topic. For you in the chat, thank you so much for being here. We are keeping eyes and ears on that, so feel free to drop questions that you have, and we'll try to flag those and come back to them at the end, or if it's super relevant during the discussion, we will pull it up. If you are on Facebook, we're using StreamYard, so make sure you give Facebook permission to use your name, or I won't know who you are, and that'll make us sad. So otherwise,
I can play guessing games though.
That'll be fun. Maybe that's a whole other side thing. I love it. So first, I did actually go out into the community in some of the Facebook groups, and I asked for what are questions that you would ask this wonderful group of people. And one of the first questions that I got is, what is a podfather?
Starting with me, huh?
Yes.
You may be the most qualified to answer this. I'm not.
I might be the most qualified to answer this one. So, so briefly, the name was given to me many years ago during my tenure as founder, owner, president of Stronghold Games, because I was creating brand for Stronghold, but I wanted to connect myself with the brand of Stronghold Games, so I would appear on everyone's podcast. Anything that anybody was doing, back then, podcasting was like the only social media almost, like back, early 2010s, then it expanded. So I would appear with everybody. If you had 2 people listening to your podcast, I'd be on your podcast. And therefore, podcasters started saying, okay, you're the Podfather because you're on all these podcasts. So it was the Italian-American thing, the Godfather, with being on all the podcasts. Since then, I've obviously adopted that, and probably we'll talk more about how we got to all that branding. So the Podfather came out of other people giving me the name. I just then adopted it even more.
You didn't self-proclaim yourself the Podfather.
I did not. I actually did not. However, now I am pushing it hard.
I thought you were gonna, Stephen. I thought you were gonna say someone made you an offer you couldn't refuse.
Oh, see, I missed an opportunity.
Well done. Well done.
Someone made me an offer I couldn't refuse. I become the Podfather of the game.
Leave the podcast. Take the cannoli.
I like this guy.
Oh,
terrible. Gosh, I love it. All right. So thank you for that question. That's a good way to start us off. All right. So like I mentioned earlier, some people think there's a lot of content creators out in the board game industry. Although I think this branding discussion could definitely touch on more than just content creation, publishers and such. But I think coming into it, a lot of folks go, well, I just need to find a name that nobody's using and maybe throw a logo together. My buddy can do that for me. And then that's it. I've got a brand and I can go out and make videos, right? Isn't that right? So I love all of your faces. So how should somebody go about defining their brand before they just jump headlong into whatever it is their creation is? Who wants to? Anybody want to? Rachel, I see you looking to start to talk, so I'm going to throw it to you.
Way too much thought into this. That's what I love about branding strategy is like I want to understand like the associations you want to have with the name. I want to understand like what you want to evoke with the images that you use. I want to know like what your actual mission and how are you like. I get so deep into this fun stuff. Like I'll sit there and ask 1,000 questions with my spreadsheet in front of me, and everybody's like, "What does this have to do with this?" And I'll say, "Just just wait. I can tell you the colors of your logo based on what you tell me you love about life right now. Just telling
Sure.
you. So, like specifically for me, I'm about connection. I want to, in every single piece of my visibility, my brand, I want people to feel connected. And so I'll run networking things. I will reach out and be on all these other all of these panels and try to connect with people to help them along down their journey. And those are pieces that I think are super crucial if you're going to make yourself a brand. Like, yeah, you can go on Canva. Everybody goes on Canva, makes themselves a template brand, and then they upload it. But that's just such the beginning. And if you even start at the beginning without all the rest of the back, it makes you so destined for a rebrand because you don't even know who you are yet.
And we're going to get to that question in a few minutes. So who else? I heard, Ruel, did I hear you start to talk?
Well, I raised my hand because Rachel mentioned Canva, and that's basically how I started. So I've been in the industry about 5 years, mainly as a writer, but sort of like behind the scenes. And it wasn't until about 2 years ago where I stepped in front of the camera and started doing videos for Geek and Sundry, and then with Renegade Game Studios. And then when the pandemic hit, I, like everyone else, I was stuck at home, and I decided to turn our guest room into a studio, and I started live streaming games. And it was just one of those spur of the moment things. It gave my family a sense of structure during the day because none of us were going out. So every day at 5 p.m., hey, let's meet in the studio, play a game, and stream it to Facebook Live. And that just became a thing. Like, we did it every day for 31 days straight. And that became season 1 of Live at 5. We decided to go live at 5 every day. I went on Canva, created, this generic looking logo and stuff. And then that finally led to, I did a rebrand after a month. I said, we're going to turn this into Tabletop Tonight. And I hired an artist to create a logo. And it was just a hand-drawn logo that she did. It was very cartoony. And it really fit in with our, style of family-friendly content. So, nice. I just wanted to talk about Canva because I think that's a great place to start. But like Absolutely. Rachel has said, it's the place to start, but then you evolve from there.
Mm-hmm. Stephen, Lauren, anything else? You think they hit it on the...
Steve, why don't you go ahead?
I'm always about making sure that when people ask me about creating their brand or creating their persona online, I think you need a hook. You need people, and Rachel touched upon this, Ruel touched upon this, that you need people to find you and to understand what you're trying to do. These days, if you're like two guys talking about the games they just played, I think that's probably just not a good thing to be because that's been done and there's a million of those. Right. So how do you find that voice, right? Find your voice and find your hook into content creation and to influencing. So mine, starting with Stronghold was, he's the nice guy that I can approach. And then people started talking about, Stronghold Games, they do Terraforming Mars, they do Survive. Oh, that's run by that guy, Steven. He's a great guy. I want to go buy his games. And now it's just leverage that into like, Steven's the fun, social party gamer that not only wants to play party games, I love party games, but also wants to just go have dinner and lunch, have a drink with you too, and just hang out because he's the approachable guy in the industry now, in the media side of the industry. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm trying to sit myself.
Nice.
Yeah, for XYZ Game Labs, when it came to us defining our brand, we really aligned ourselves so closely to like our mission statement, which is not really a mission statement. It's more like a mission hook, if you will. Yeah. And that hook is invent new gamers. That is our goal. That is all we want to do in this world. And our why for XYZ existing on this planet is to make cool games to the point where we're inventing new gamers. We're introducing more people to the hobby, and we're making it more approachable, more accessible, more exciting to, you know, audiences that may have been ignored previously in the industry. And we're also aligning with other brands that, you know, may introduce outsiders to the industry, like our Borderlands Tiny Tina's Robot Tea Party. You have a lot of video gamers who, you know, now have kids, right? Yeah. And now they're like, well, I still love Borderlands, but, you know, I'm not gonna hand a controller to my 5-year-old to shoot, you know, badasses and psychos in Borderlands. I'm gonna hand them this tabletop card game. So, you know, in a lot of ways, we do that not just by, you know, how we thematically design our games, but also, you know, what are our partnerships with other people like? What are the other industries that we want to align with, or brands or licenses that we want to align with? And it goes all the way down to like even to the micro level of the product design. Like, okay, are our games colorblind accessible? Does this make sense? Do we have culture consultants? Are we doing usability testing and understanding how people are reading this? We even do blind testing of our rule book. So we'll literally hand over components, hand over the rule books, and it's like, all right, set up the game. How are you setting it up? And it does not have graphic treatment. So it's truly understanding how people are absorbing our content and making sure that it is accessible to as many people as even possible. And we do that, you know, and invent new gamers is the heart of that.
That's a great point. So and I feel like we may have touched on some of this too, but what are the important things to focus on? So, you know, Rachel, you were kind of talking, you guys both, I've heard a lot of you mention, what's your mission? Who are you trying to reach? Why are you trying to reach them? So what are some of the other things that you should be focusing on when you're building out that brand?
Audience. Who are you talking to? How are you going to reach them? And how are you going to make yourself approachable? That is like, as everybody was talking, it's an overwhelming theme that if you are a personal brand, you need to be personal. You need to reach out. We've seen Jamie Stegmaier. He's the board game guy next door. Like it has that relationship and focuses on that as part of his brand. And people feel like they can talk to him. People feel like they can walk up and say hi to Stephen, and he's going to care about them as a person and say, hey, I would love you to play this game with your family because I think it'll give you a good time and a connection point. And there's just that passion and energy when you care about someone, and that is the approachability that has helped. I mean, I think all of the panelists here have success in their brands. We have
for sure, because I do feel like I could walk up to any of you, even if we've never met in person before, thanks COVID, but I mean, even just from talking to you on here, even before this panel, you were approaching, I mean, I was comfortable to approach you to be on the panel because your brands have made you feel approachable.
Yeah, and I think that's totally true what Rachel was saying. I mean, it does make you more approachable, and it does feel personal. And the majority of my work that I do these days are these live streams over on Twitch, where I play a different game like 3 nights a week with either family or friends. And doing that, it does help build the brand, but it also focuses the brand where now companies that I partner with, they know, hey, my stream is mainly going to be like family gateway style, gateway plus type games. Even though like my favorite game of all time, Twilight Imperium, I love that game, but I'm not going to play it on stream. It's it's a different type. Yeah, it's a different type of thing.
I want to try
right?
it. Yeah.
We gotta get your hours.
I want to try it
I
sometime.
Yeah, we'll find one day, and that takes the entire day. But it's totally worth it. It's such an experience. But see, that's the type of thing. I love those type of games. But what I do on brand or on my streamer is completely different than that. I want to reach, like Lauren was saying. Actually, I want to help create more gamers because playing gateway games, it's easier to get people involved, and it's easier for new gamers to understand. And that's basically where I'm coming from, is just trying to reach that type of audience. And it makes it easy too, because when I'm partnering with certain companies, they know that my families, we're not going to play like your Cards Against Humanity knockoff. That just doesn't fit our channel, but other games will. Yeah,
right. That's a good point. Is knowing if you're gonna create content, then finding what that audience is, and then making sure that your games align with that exactly to that point.
This is interesting. Hearing all these pieces of it. If you think about it in this way, if you want to be an influencer, you have to influence. If you want to influence, you got to have an audience. Right. If you want to get an audience, you got to get the brand. And if you want to figure out the brand, what is your hook? So this is an entire way of going from figuring out what you're going to offer, right? What you're going to offer, create the brand around it. You can get the audience that's going to be dragged into that, and you can get up there to become an influencer within this community or in other communities.
Right, and what you were saying earlier about why, what are you actually trying to come up with a hook for? That's what, as publishers, we look for the hole in the market. Like you said, two guys sitting around talking about what games that they played this week. Yeah, that's done. There's also a lot of rolling rights, and there's a lot, things have been done. Look for the hole in the market and see if that fits you as a person. Don't try to go into something that you're forcing around.
That's a great point. Hole. Yeah, go ahead, Lauren.
And one thing that kind of to bounce off of Stephen's idea, like, when you're talking about the hook, it's not just the hook, it's your unique value selling proposition. So what is it can you offer that no one else can offer? What else is, or like the whole, what else is not there that you can now provide? And in fact, our latest title, Arch Ravels, that was a hole in the market. The idea of Arch Ravels came from a board gamer who was at our booth who said, do you know what game I wish there was out there that is not there? A game about knitting. And then they walked away, and we don't even know the name of this person. And it's like really sad. Like, we owe so much like credit to this one random stranger who just like, word vomited to us at the booth. Right. And like, and it's so interesting because like, it was like years ago. It's like 4 years ago, and that idea still stuck when it came time to making our travels. So.
Hey, random person, go to XYZ Games. I bet they'll give you a free game now.
We'll give you a free game.
You're gonna have like 25 people come up.
I have no idea who that person was. Adam and Jordan were there.
It was me. No, it was me. It was me. No, it was me.
But Adam and Jordan was there, and they had this conversation, and that idea was sticky. It was so when an idea like that sticks, it's like, wow, it's gonna happen, a lot of times when it follows you throughout these years. But yeah, finding the gaps, understanding your value, and also understanding, kind of to tie back to the targeted audience or targeted personas, if you will. Like, sometimes our games, like Arch Ravels, it's a game about knitting. We know that most people aren't gonna like games about knitting. We understand that. And that's our point, though. Like, we want to grow the gaming, the gamers, and we're introducing the hobby. So like, so that's why, it's really important to understand, like, not only your personas, your value proposition, and overall, just like, listening to your audience, especially when they tell you there are holes in the market like that.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I'm just going to wander up to your booth at the next time and just say something really random and just walk off loudly proclaim that.
Yeah, like it was literally their last statement, and they walked away, and we're like, oh my god, like, wait, come back here,
Cannot wait. I'm gonna have something really good too.
So we talked to Rachael briefly mentioned said that dreaded word, rebranding, but Ruel's done it. I've done it. So we jumped into the market with, we didn't take the appropriate steps. I'll be totally transparent on this panel. We just jumped in. It's like, let's do a thing. And it took us a little while to I say us. It's me, but and sometimes my husband. But it took some time to go out there and make some content and then get your footing and go, okay, this is where I think I fit well because it matches my personality and maybe it's a niche type thing that I want to can put into the marketplace. So then we sat down with someone and did what Rachael does and went through an exercise of understanding what the heck is our brand. And Bree mentioned a great point in the comments of how there's no doubt that specific colors and shape evoke emotions when you see them. And I can relate from my conversation I had with my branding strategist when we did it, those colors that they connected to our brand. Which brings me back to the question of how often do you think about rebranding and is there a good time to do it? Rachael has feelings on this.
I know. I'm gonna let her go first.
Go, Rachael, go.
I'm like holding back. I'm bad at holding back. I'm so sorry.
No poker face.
This is so funny because Bree was one of the people that when I was with 524 and we were rebranding to Picato, I was talking to her at Gamma 2020 because she was my roommate, and I was like, tell me, when you think of me as a personal brand and my company as its own brand, tell me, like, and I gave her archetypes. I'm like, is it like almost like D&D, like, is it the rogue, is it the boy next door, like girl next door, whatever, like what is it, approachable, is it knowledgeable, like, just I went through all these different archetypes, and she's like, I would say it's almost like a personality test, like Enneagram or whatever, like, is this what I am or is this what I am, and is this what my company is versus me, because that was about the time I was starting to try and differentiate between myself and my company, because comes a time where you're trying to, if you're going to do your own thing, you have to separate yourself from your company. For the longest time, Stephen was Stronghold, and Stronghold was Stephen. But then when Stephen retired, as he very loudly did, we all immediately found out that he was now the Podfather of gaming.
It's on his shirt.
And
I think I waited 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
I don't even believe it. So, like, so every time we see him, he is wearing the Podfather of gaming shirt.
Yes, right there.
Every time we see him,
I feel like I need to zoom in on this. Hang on.
Yes, he has his branding on point, and he is
not
just.
Me.
I love it.
Out of control. Just go back to the regular button and leave it alone.
Don't let her go with the buttons.
Don't touch the buttons.
Don't touch the buttons, Dan. So I had to decide what part of me was the brand and what part of the brand was the company itself, because the company ended up going in a different direction that didn't match me, and I went ahead and separated at that point. But that also caused problems for them, because since I left around the same time, it made them look unstable, and that was upsetting because, you know, they have their own stuff. They're still selling games and whatever, but they detached from that public person, that face that had all of the brand. And so, because before I took over, then my husband was the brand, because he did the whole Jamie Stegmaier kind of approach. So I'm telling you that when you rebrand, you have to be aware of the different implications of your audience. What are they going to think? Like, they're going to fill in the blank if you don't. So make sure that you're willing to and able to fill in the blank.
All right.
Nice. Ruel, did you run into any of that when you did yours?
When we started, the live streams live at 5, I knew it wasn't sustainable, because we were, it was just me, my wife, our daughter playing games for a month straight on Facebook Live. And it was just something for us to do while we were trying to cope with the start of lockdown and the pandemic.
Sure.
And then as we got to the end of season 1, I was like, okay, we're not going to always be doing this at 5 because now our daughter's going back to school, the University of Zoom, as she called it. And then my wife, Michelle, she's a teacher. So she started doing the hybrid, or actually all online teaching. So I knew that we couldn't always meet there at 5 o'clock. So I said, okay, we're going to do tabletop tonight. So I can be a little more flexible as far as time goes. And then I started having guests come on, and like, it wasn't always, whenever the guests were available, that's when I'd said, okay, tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific or 8 p.m. Pacific. So that allowed me a lot more flexibility in that that way. Also, when I had the art created, I really wanted to, the art that I had before on Canva, again, just generic stuff. But then when I hired the artist, I said, I want something family friendly. And she came up with these great like cartoon avatars. So it's cutesy and it's very welcoming. It is family oriented. So that I've stuck with that so far as artwork goes. And I always try to make sure that we had some kind of blue color. We're talking about colors earlier because I'm a Dodgers fan. I needed Dodger blue in there. So that's why.
Fair enough. They're very memorable. Like I can stop and think and picture your logo right now.
Yeah, and that's the goal, right? That is the goal.
Yeah, that brain recognition. Anybody else have some thoughts on rebranding? Yeah, Lauren, go ahead.
Something. The main thing for rebranding and just in general with the rebranding strategy, the only reason why you would want to rebrand is for a business reason, and Rachael listed a bunch of them. Like, it was not aligning with, their beliefs, or, a new service line was spinning off of it, or, there's a merger, or there's some sort of acquisition, or, there may be some legal reason, or in some business cases that I've studied before, like, a manufacturing company, like, used to manufacture like thousands of products, but then they realized that there was like one like golden goose, if you will, one product out of the thousands that were really bringing in the money. So like, let's phase out the others and let's focus on this one. So that's another example of that, where like maybe they're just trying to simplify or focus their message, and therefore the rebranding. So, these are just all examples, but before you go into a rebrand, understand your business case, understand your reason why, and evaluate whether or not the timing is right now for that. And if you have a true understanding of what the new brand is going to be like, don't skip through the steps, don't rush it. Understand it and be very clear about your communication plan. Have a very clearly communicate to your audience who the new you is. Right. And then you can move forward, but don't skip out on the steps. You got to understand the reasons you're going through these motions, right?
I had the benefit of having the name already given to me by podcasts, as I mentioned. So I just had to grab it and push it a little harder, create the pretty Godfather-like logo with the dice instead, and add the of gaming. So it was a perfect natural transition for me. So I don't think I've ever really rebranded it. Just dragged it across and then just pushed it harder that's part of right. And that's sort of part of when you're doing any brand strategy, any type of you need to focus on the company for companies of any industry. Sometimes they just re-push the name hard, and all of a sudden you see them pop up all over the place. I just grabbed it and pushed.
Yeah, I think what you did was a spin-off. It was a spin-off of a brand.
Spin-off of Bonacore.
And then you just leaned on it, right? Like that's exactly what you did. And that's perfect. And that's the kind of focus that's like, wow, I know who the Podfather is. Nerd out.
Thank you. Nerd out.
There's two perfect scenarios, like I guess case studies of this that I've seen personally. White Wizard Games switching to Wise Wizard Games because they left and it was super important to them to leave most of the logos the same as if possible. Like everything needed to stay familiar so that they were able to guide their audience and just say, hey, we're just going to make this small change and leave it for the most part. And it was like taking what they had before and transitioning it across. It was very smooth, expertly done. Debbie is a marketing genius. It was very well done. Other case study I want Lauren to address is arch rivalry to arch rivals.
Yes. So similarly, we ran into a legal requirement, if you will, to change the name because Ravelry, the online community, was very unhappy with using Arch Ravelry in our game. And so we had to change the name, we had to change the marketing, we had to change our banners, and we moved everything over. And we even went onto Ravelry.com and acknowledged, hey, we are changing the title because we do not want to disrespect this community. We understand that it might be encroaching on it, even though our legal advisor says you totally didn't have to change the name. You're nowhere in the same space at all. But out of respect of that audience and that community, which has millions and millions of users on Ravelry, we made the switch. And now it's Arch Ravels and it's not Arch Ravelry. Yes, it did end up eating us some costs and some of the previous marketing spend and asset spend that we had put in there, but it was overall similarly, like the logo didn't change, the colors didn't change. It was just two letters, to make it, sound and kosher to the Ravelry community, which was a big part of our audience that we were trying to target.
And guided your audience. It was perfect.
Excellent.
Nice.
Man, I bet you didn't know you were going to get all that.
I love it. So let's switch a little bit. So now maybe I've gone through the exercises. I have this brand now. How do I go about making it stand out in a really crowded marketplace that is, the board game industry?
I'm going to be quiet. You do.
Stephen, what about you?
I go first again. Come on.
Go ahead.
Or give me Ruel go. Anybody can jump in.
Yeah. Wow. This was actually a tough one because this is something that I am still working on. And what I've found that works for me personally, I just stay focused on what my goal was, starting when I started this whole thing, is like focusing on family-friendly gameplay through live streams and video creation. Also, we're talking about engagement. When I'm live, like I'm very engaged with the audience. And I think that separates me personally from different channels where, we're talking, you can have like two guys talking about board games. It's been done to death. Or you can, I've seen a lot of streams, live streams where people are playing board games, which is great. But there's a difference between playing a board game on live stream and live streaming a game. And that's, for me, that means talking to the audience, taking questions. Like I will literally ask the audience, what do y'all think I should do on this move right here? I bring that in. It's a different type of experience. And that's one that I'm very proud of, that I've been able to do throughout the last year. And I've worked with a lot of companies, and it's been a really big selling point, me personally, rather than just doing the standard, okay, here's how you play the game, we're going to play through a couple of turns. No, I'm going to bring the audience in. Let's play a game together because this is a family game night. We're playing this, and I am going to ask, I'll call all y'all in chat, hey, so-and-so, what do you think I should do here? Or I think that might not be the best move, but we're going to see what happens. And that's just the type of gameplay I'm striving to do, is something that's very, very engaging and just very energetic and highly, highly interactive.
I think you need to establish your identity, do it, and do it well. Whatever that is, do it well, and also do it consistently.
Yes.
Don't fade, right?
That is the
back in the day,
word. Yeah.
Back in the day, we called it pod fading, right? That a podcast would be out there, they'd do 20 episodes, and you never hear from them again. Or then they would do it once every 4 weeks, and then every 6 months, and then they were gone because they lost interest. So you got to focus on whatever you're doing. Do it consistently, do it well. Don't just forget it like for a period of time. Short periods maybe, but not any extended periods.
Yeah, I feel like that is so true, especially in the, my world is mainly the Twitch live stream world. And if you're consistent, that's how you're going to build that audience, and they get to know your brand. And it's just, the audience knows, hey, every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, Ruel and his family and friends, they're going to be playing a game. Let's go check it out. And it's, we've done it consistently, and it's helped grow the channel.
That's exactly right.
Well, but you formed this bond, right? So that every Tuesday night or whatever night it is, that I want to go hang out with my friends on Twitch. and
Yep.
see what, you know what I mean? Like you're creating
Yeah.
that
No,
bond
totally.
and that friendship.
Yeah, and totally, and I'm going to totally date myself here, but it's like that show Cheers, where everyone knows your name, right? Like you go to this our channel, like I will say hi to our audience members who are regulars, and then they join our Discord channel, and that's another way we can connect with everybody. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's games. We're having fun.
Yeah,
approachability and relationship and connection, and that pulls in your audience and stays with you, and people want to support. That's I mean, going back to games, that's Kickstarter. That is that is old school OG Kickstarter. You go to Kickstarter because you want people to band behind you to make something amazing, and because they care about you as a creator, not just that it's like a pre-order platform. Like that was the magic there, and that is so much of the content creating. And Julie always laughs at me because I am so consistent that I stress out if there's anything that is not gonna like I usually did this. I took a break, which was very hard for me.
I understand.
There is a Clubhouse networking room I would do at noon on Fridays, and I did it all by myself because I really wanted to do it, and I didn't want to ask anyone else to add another consistent thing to their day or their week, and I would not miss. There was times where I was like, I have to pick up my kid, and it's like I'm gonna be late, but I'm gonna stay and do this because I said I would. And they're always like, they knew that I would be there.
Such a good mother.
I know. I'm like, forget you kids. I have Clubhouse. But like,
you're old enough to be self-sustainable. It's fine.
I mean, I'm consistent. My priorities might be out of whack, but I'm consistent with that. I don't. That is something that is very difficult. So during the pandemic, every Friday at 9:30 in the morning on Central, we had You're Invited, and if there was anything that stopped that from happening, you knew that was very strange, and because we were always there, and it built that audience that would all log in right at that time, and it just that's a huge part of trying to stand out, because you create your audience and nurture them. And you have your hook, and you play to your hook.
For sure.
So, and the other thing I was going to say is visibility. If you're going to stand out, you need to be visible, and hopefully you chose a hook that you could remain consistent with. I remember when Ruel came out with his Live at 5 thing, I was overwhelmed for you. Like, I was like... Every day at 5 o'clock, nothing can go wrong in your life. How are you doing that? Like, that is the most amazing commitment I'm like, I could never do that. Like, I can do once a week. Maybe.
Right. But it's knowing those limits, right, are important, because if you try to jump into this and go, I'm going to stream 5 days a week, you're going to be exhausted. I mean,
exactly. You set yourself up to fail, man. Like,
and I was like, I did know it was not sustainable, so I knew that going in. So I'm just going to say we're going to do this, go do the month straight, and then after that we will reassess or rebrand at that point.
Yeah.
So
you had a light at the end of the tunnel, at least. So at least with that, if you're doing it, you're like, I know that this is what I'm going to do that week, but I also know there's a light at the end. So I didn't want to come across that I was going, gosh, really, you were crazy. That's not what I meant.
Yeah.
But I know, like, I tried doing three streams a week, and with a full-time job, and even having the luxury of working from home, it's too much. Like,
it is.
It's too much.
Unless it's your job. Like, that's just...
Yeah. And since I want to keep the house that I stream from, it's not my job.
Welcome to the rest of the industry.
I had the luxury of more time over the last year and a half, right?
Wait, did I hear you retired? Is that why?
Did you hear that I retired sometime?
Retired.
I feel like that's brand new information.
In August of 2020, and of course that was during the pandemic, and I actually, I started a happy hour, right? Again, playing to my strengths of community and bringing people together and connecting people and being approachable. So I started this happy hour that I did religiously twice a week Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, Sundays at 4 p.m. Eastern. That dragged in some of the Europeans. And that was great. You know, not only, I mean, I was doing it to stay connected with people. Of course, I was going to create some content and just a place that people could hang out. So it focused people on, and Bonacore's out there and he's hanging out with us and we're doing that. So it helped the brand, and that I started during Stronghold, and then of course I transitioned it from happy hour at the Stronghold to happy hour with the Podfather. So it was very very natural, very natural.
Nice.
Yeah. Now before we jump, Ruel, I know that you are a busy fella and need to make a quick run out of here. So we've got a couple more questions I want to finish up, but I want to give you a chance to tell any other thoughts that you have. I want to make sure that people know where to find you.
Oh, thanks, Kim. And again, thank you for being flexible with my crazy schedule. It's been, I mean, this has been amazing.
Fangirling, it's fine. So.
Well, I'm fanboying. How about that? I'm fanboying. So I am going to be watching the rerun of this after I leave. But I do want to thank you again for the opportunity to hang out with all of you amazing people. Folks, my name is Ruel Gaviola. You can find me on all the socials at Ruel Gaviola. I host 2 YouTube shows. I host Good Looking Kickstarters with Becca Scott on the Good Time Society. I also not just good looking. And then I also host a new show called R&R with Richard Ham, aka Rado, on his channel. You can find me streaming on Twitch at Ruel Gaviola. I am also on the board for the Tabletop Writers Guild and the American Tabletop Awards. So find me on those websites. And last but not least, the reason why I'm running out right now, I am a co-founder of the Tabletop Live Network. This is a monthly event that the Brothers Murph and I created together where we stream for 24 hours straight with streamers from around the world. We have a big collaboration of international streamers. We've got streamers here in North America, Europe, and also, do we have an Asian member? We don't have anyone in Asia yet, but we do 24 hours straight. It's an amazing event, just nothing but board games, and that's why I'm going to go right now. I'm going to go do the countdown show, and then we're going to start. So, thank you again, friends.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ruel.
Thank you, everybody. Bye. See you next time. Bye.
And then there were 3. No. So this is, and I want to actually bring up one quick. I saw a great comment that I think you guys could probably address here.
James.
James, looking into it, like. So they have a company that started with a similar name to theirs, and it is starting to kind of cause a little bit of confusion, and they're trying to figure out if it's really going to be a problem or just an annoyance. Anybody have any advice on that one?
Depends on the names, depends on the similarities, depends on the colors of the logo, the look of it, the mission, the missions of the company, right? Is it gaming? I assume.
Yeah, is it the same industry? Because if it's in the same industry, then you have
right.
Not you could lawyer up essentially, but
James is probably talking about for context, he is the director of sales for Hit Point Sales.
Okay.
Which is through Tabletop Tycoon, and so it sounds like that. I mean, Hit Point Sales has been around a long time, so I'm guessing that this is kind of a new thing. And so yeah, you could either lawyer up and cease and desist, or like. You know, make them or have a conversation. Hit Point Sales versus Hit Point Press.
Oh boy,
that sounds like that is also either in the gaming industry or even the tabletop gaming industry. So, hint: this is a real small space. You can say something.
Yeah, I mean I think that the first path is always have a conversation. You know. Sending a letter from a lawyer is a little unfriendly.
Right.
But so you just open a dialogue and you see how the dialogue goes. And then you can start to claim use trademark, which is what you have by using a name. You have use trademark versus an actual registered trademark where you can put the little R and the little TM on it. So, one step at a time. Have the conversation, start the dialogue. If it's belligerent and you really need the name and you need it clear, you can have a nicely worded letter from a lawyer go to the next step.
Right.
One step at a time.
The one thing is it is in the same space. Well, there's actually something that's kind of going on with XYZ right now. There's a company called XYZ Games in Thailand, and they're actually ripping off a bunch of people into like an online game website. No. And so we've been getting a lot of like hate from Thai people who thinks we're ripping them off. And so that's another one where it's like, you know, we're not actually quite sure how to approach that because of international like law, and it's like the internet, you know, so it's like, how do we even do like a cease and desist there? So I'm doing the best I can by writing statements for a company in both English and in Thai to say that we are not that company, we're not associated with that, but that's the best as we can do. That could be an approach that you guys could have to make sure, you know, you make it very clear that, you know, hit point sales is not the same as hit point press, you know, at least having some sort of clear language there in case there's anything like that happens. But
you by the way, just to completely, because I've had similar things with names of games come up. While it's not inexpensive, it's not too expensive, you can go out immediately and begin the process of registering your trademark. It takes a long time. However, if you begin the process of registering a trademark, somebody else cannot start the process of registering a trademark. So if you believe this is really going to be a problem, I would, tomorrow, Monday, get a game lawyer, and I know a good one, who will start registering your trademark for you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Are you saying that there's other games that talk about Mars?
No, it had nothing to do with any Mars
is a
game.
real place?
It had nothing to do with any Mars game. I have never had a problem with the name Mars.
Oh my gosh,
I might have had problems with some other games. Maybe.
If I'm giving him a hard time, I don't know why
yes,
I'm here.
Rachel and I have got history here.
I enjoy the Rachel and Steven show that I occasionally get.
The behind the scenes where like we just give each other a chance to clap.
It's wonderful.
I think we might start doing pies in the face too at some point.
Yeah.
I feel like they could have their own like comedy 30 minutes or so comedy.
What do you think, Rachel? We could do that.
I would watch it.
We could come up with something.
I'm sure.
And on that note, no, I'm kidding. So now, has there been a mistake, or mishap that you've learned the most from?
Oh gosh, so many mistakes.
Because you have to learn. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
In branding, right? So, I mean, I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Yeah, he's perfect.
We all knew that.
I mean, we had to do some work back at Stronghold with logos and things like that. It's not even worth bringing up the reasons and all that. But I have not had any specific missteps under branding scenarios.
I know one.
Okay.
I know one. Don't use random numbers for your brand name. That is a thing that was difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
Because
really?
524 Labs.
524.
Yeah. 524 Labs is difficult to remember if you do not know the significance of said number.
Oh.
So, yeah,
okay.
and you in your
That's a good one.
Tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Don't realize that other people even gonna think about it because you're just trying to come up with a name and go into Canva and make a cool thing. So what ended up being an issue was us trying to separate our first flagship game from our actual brand of the company. Okay. So people had no idea what 524 Labs was, but they knew what Mintworks was. And so I would introduce myself as Rachel from Mintworks, the Mintworks company. Like, I would literally say that, because if I came in and said, "Hey, I'm Rachael Blaske, I am with 524 Labs," they would go, "Cool story, bro." What? And is that supposed to be cool? Like, I have no idea who you are. But yes, so I would say that would be a mistake that I and we made at that time, because 524, I do love the significance of it. It's my husband and I's anniversary, as well as our son's birthday. So May 24th is a big deal around here, and so we made 524 a thing.
But maybe not to like everybody else on the planet.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why don't you guys know that happened that day, and that it is completely referencing a date? And no. So don't. I would say do not include inside jokes or references as part of your logo or brand unless you want to tell that story about 50,000 times and still have people not identify with you.
Oh, that's fair.
Oh, but you can put inside jokes into your name when they have other significances.
Right.
Like Stronghold Games. The Stronghold was the name of my house in New Jersey. We called it the Stronghold. It had a faux stone front. Everybody, all my friends, I would say, hey, you guys want to come over to the Stronghold tonight? I mean, that was just the way. My first house was Casa di Evil. The second one was the Stronghold. And so I took that name to create Stronghold Games. But of course, Stronghold, a fortress, a castle. I can create branding. I create branding. I can create association. You can create cool little logos around. There's a whole thing that can be done with that. So that inside joke was okay. 524. It always sounded like, well, you guys can be contacted 24 hours a day as long as it's not on Saturday and Sunday. You don't want to be talked
or 25.
Saturday and Sunday. Don't bother us. But 24 hours a day, Monday to Friday, we're good. Come talk to us.
Or 25 or 6 to 4. It kind of also.
25 or 6 to 4.
Right. And what was funny is in the intro, you even said Rachael Blaske, former CEO of 525 Labs, and I just giggled to myself. And I was like, "Yep, that's my life. Yep."
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I'm gonna look at my notes.
It's see. So, and I also love the story of XYZ's.
Oh yeah, I just can't read.
You could share it. You could share it.
Oh my god! Well, it was basically everybody's like, I don't know what to name it. What do you want to name it? I don't know. Isn't that kind of
that's exactly how it went.
That sounds right.
No one. Yeah, they wanted something Game Labs, and the idea was Labs was going to be in there because it's like a laboratory. We are making games.
Laboratory.
And then XYZ was literally a placeholder, tags for the thing, and it's stuck. And somehow, Adam, who is a graphic design marketing genius, was like, it actually kind of looks good as a logo, guys. And so it's, he's just playing around in Photoshop and it looks pretty good. And then the grid background behind it, there's a lot of symbolism included in the grid because it represented, there's aspects of the logo that represented each of the original founders of the company.
There you go. Looks great.
Yeah.
There's obviously, and I just didn't think of this until this topic just got brought up. There's a lot of these anecdotal stories about names in this industry.
Oh yeah.
Another one that I can share. My good buddy Zev Schlesinger, right? He created the original Z-Man games, and when he went to print his first game, or when he was finding printers, and they were going to create a quote for him, and they said, well, what's your company name? And he goes, well, I don't really have one right now. I just could say Zev. He goes, well, we'd like to put a name. He goes, Z-Man Games, and literally he just kept it because I don't know, it's pretty cute. And Zev, of course, created the brand around him as well. I did a lot of the work that I did on Stronghold. Zev was a friend of mine. He was I was a gamer, and I met him during gaming. So he mentored me a lot early on in Stronghold, and I took so much information from him and used some of his ideas, including, making my person, the face and the face and the person behind Stronghold Games.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we did that. There's a podcast that I'm on that in a casual conversation, I ask, are we going to start this? Or are we waiting for Obi? speaking of which, of some Star Wars stuff, and Waiting for Obi stuck, and that is our podcast name. So
Cool.
it just worked really well. Uh-oh, we've got trouble in the chat.
I know, Seppi's here.
Uh-oh.
His name is Seppi Yoon.
Who's here?
Seppi Yoon from Fight in the Box Games.
Oh, I haven't been looking at the comments.
He is my pal. Every Tuesday, Seppi will come hang out and play games with me. So I wanted to give us a little bit of time, because I know we're pretty close on time here, that I wanted to give the chat an opportunity to ask some questions. So we do have... Nope.
Bring it, chat.
That's just Rachel saying hi to Seppi because I hit the wrong button.
That happens all the time.
Can I do that?
No.
Can I do? I can't say that. How'd you do that?
No, it's on her side. She's allowed to click.
I'm sorry. I have all the power, Stephen. Ha ha!
All the power and all
I
the
took
buttons.
all the power from the Podfather, and I don't know if I can. It's like the Infinity Gauntlet.
Oh my gosh, of course I remember you, Seppi. You're the best.
He is wonderful. So James asked, what are your thoughts on rescuing a damaged brand, bad reputation, versus rebranding to a new name? That is a heavy question that I don't know. I mean, it's a heavy question.
I have thoughts that are very long and winded and loud, so I'm gonna defer.
Okay, I'll go first. So I'm a digital strategist by day, and I've actually worked with a client that actually went through some really bad reputational stuff, press, bad PR, as I was working with them. And there's a lot of talk about, do we change our brand? Do we strip our logo? Do we strip everything? All of our brand style guides, do we toss it out? Do we completely change it? And in a lot of instances, it all depends. And for them, they actually chose to keep their identity. They kept their name. They kept their branding style, their look, their feel, even the title of the company. But what they doubled down on was their new tone, their new voice, and they really doubled down on their new values that highlighted that, we are not going to do this again. And we've learned from this mistake and we're moving forward. So, and it's everywhere. Like, it was a pharmaceutical, I won't say the name, but basically, when you're looking at pharma or big pharma and a lot of healthcare industries, it's like, do we look at the heart or do we look at the brain, right? So they're scientists. So a lot of people are like, maybe we should lean towards the research angle, or should we lean towards the community and the heart of the person? And so they double down on the heart. And so they show that they are committed to the community and their audience and the customers and their patients and the families that are impacted by the disease that they create prescription drugs for. So that is an example of that, and it all depends on the company and if they're willing to do the right thing and keep that damaged brand, but really doubling down on their lessons.
Guide your audience, tell them what you need them to hear, and make them feel comfortable and approachable again. You have to rebuild that damaged relationship.
I mean, there are companies that simply drop and create a new company. They've destroyed this. Oh well, they create a new company, keep going. There are players in this industry who have done it, which will remain nameless for this. So I recommend don't damaging your brand. Don't damage your brand. Be a good player. Always be a responsible player in whatever industry you're in. Always be upfront, be honest. Don't damage your brand.
I mean, there are still ways that you can still get stuck in those situations that, I'm familiar with, whether or not someone is being honest about what they're saying negatively about your brand. But again, you have to control that narrative by being as transparent as you can be and being, again, focused on your audience.
And there's a really great comment that Board Game Brie left, even more important in our industry, I think, because board games are so strongly tied to individual people and personalities. Yes. So, especially in our industries, because we're dealing with so many contractors, right? We're dealing with so independent actors that, sometimes it's hard to make sure that those your company values and that they're acting in a respectful manner outside of, your work with them. So, when it comes to, because there's so many independent actors like that, it's even more important that, companies are holding on to their values, that they keep their values close to them and that they stay true to that. And if there are bad actors that they're working with, to keep to their brand, keep to their identity, keep to their values, but acknowledge and learn and, maybe cut off, bad actors, right? So in a lot of instances, that might be the approach going forward, because you don't want to rebrand entire companies because there are so many independent actors.
Sure, yeah.
That might be. Chris is here.
Hi, Chris.
We're doing the best we can, Chris.
No. He's absolutely deferring to these queens. I'm telling you. He knows what's up.
I love it. I love it.
Very cool.
All right. Well, I'm giving a moment to see if chat has anything they also want to ask. Do you all have, I'm going to steal a line from Rachel's show. Do you all have a top tip that you want to share about branding? Because I love that they do these, and I honestly just sit on the edge of my seat each week waiting to see what it is.
What the top?
Love your top tips. I'm like, oh, what are they going to say?
Well, that's because Julie is a former teacher, and so she's like, okay, I'll teach the whole lesson, and then we circle back and we hit the main takeaway, and so we do.
Love it.
So, what is your top tip, guys? I can switch back into my you're invited version here. Lauren, do you have a top tip?
Sure. I think my top tip is authenticity breeds success. Be yourself. Stick to your guns. Be honest. Be transparent. And execution matters. I know there was a question earlier that said, like, how do you define yourself in such a crowded marketplace? It's crowded, but it's not overcrowded. There's always execution. Execution will separate you from other people. So just do it well and be yourself, and the rest is golden.
I love it.
I'd add inconsistency of content. Constantly be out there. Constantly do stuff. You can't fade away. We talked about that. You can't not put out something. There's always more to people say. Oh, enough time. Well, there's always time. You got to work hard. You got to push it out, and you got to think about, of course, what you're going to put out, because you just don't want to put out nothingness. You got to think, put out good, intelligent, important, relevant stuff.
Nice.
My top tip is audience. Who are you talking to? Why are you talking to them? And how are you going to stay talking to them? That is absolutely how you maintain and grow your brand.
I love it. So much helpful information. I took a lot of things away.
Excellent.
So many things. Saw the good things. All right. I don't see, other than Chris telling us all to be aggressive, be aggressive.
Aggressive, be aggressive, be. I already am. Sorry.
Sorry, buddy. Oh, yeah,
I don't need to be told.
Look,
thank you.
God, I should not be in charge of buttons.
Oh my.
Oh my.
It's fine last time, and it's mouse battery dying, clicking on multiple things. We've been doing this before this gets out of control. So, that was a lot of great information. I hope everyone found it as helpful as I certainly did. Before we wrap up, I want to make sure people, they should already know where to find you. But if for some crazy reason they are not, Lauren, where can we learn more about you and XYZ Game Labs?
Sure. At XYZGameLabs.com, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, we're on all of those things. And my personal is at Nepomuceno if you feel like seeing all the housework that I've been doing lately.
I love watching your housework. It's amazing. I live in a little house too. So I appreciate kind of some of the stuff you're going through. Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you. It's been a lot of work. I'm so tired.
We grant you nap privileges after this.
Yes, absolutely.
Stephen, the Podfather.
Basically everywhere. Twitter and Instagram at Podfather Gaming, Facebook /Podfather Gaming. You can join, not only like the page on Facebook, but you can join the group, the Podfather Gaming group, which is associated there. And it's just, we just keep it light, friendly, and fun. and we use it a lot for basically just staying in touch with people. The Podfather of Gaming website as well, so all of that fun stuff.
I feel kind of left out that I'm the only one who's not currently remodeling my house in this exact moment.
Oh,
right? It kind of sounds like he's being attacked by aliens.
Do you hear?
I'm going to point out kind of, we have to let Stephen go because they're coming through the door, literally.
I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. I'll mute myself.
You're fine.
Yes,
I've only heard it a couple of times, and then I think Rachel and I both giggled whenever we heard it. Because I thought the aliens are coming to get him, but I didn't.
I don't have a front door in the house right now. And they're putting it in. There is no front door in my house. It's a huge gaping hole.
Guys, I guess it means we're invited to go to the Podfather Games house.
Us right now. Like, we can just waltz right through.
You know what? 100%. All of you and everybody in the chat can come here once we're finished with this project, which is taking forever.
Well,
come to South Florida. You can come over.
The door is open right now. You're going to miss your chance.
You can't stop us.
March right in.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so for
Rachel?
me, I am on Facebook, Instagram, Rachael Blaske on Facebook, Ray Blaske on Instagram and Twitter. I say Twitter. I'm not actually there. It's scary. I avoid it like the plague, but I have a handle there that is sitting there. Instagram, definitely. You're Invited Live, also on Instagram and Facebook, and RachelBlaske.com. If you have questions, you can send me a Facebook message. That's usually the fastest, easiest way to get hold of me.
It's pretty quick.
Because I'm really terrible at email. I think it's gross. So that is not my favorite way to communicate, but I apparently am too unprofessional. I also help with the Great Plains Gaming Project, which is also Great Plains Game Fest on Instagram, and then Great Plains Gaming Project on Facebook. We run the Great Plains Gaming Festival, which is in 2 weeks.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. We're going to have this weirdo special guest. We're going to have this extremely...
Are the aliens dropping...
Who is your very special guest of honor?
Guest of honor. It is grown now.
He keeps going.
Very special guest of honor.
Stephen Buonocore, the Podfather of Gaming, former president of Stronghold Games. I can go on. And the
radio announcer voice.
Board Game Insider co-host with Ignacy Trevicek.
Thank you.
The free board game breakfast.
Tell me, get out of here. But yeah, he's gonna come and hang out, and he's already made very, very strange accommodation requests like green M&Ms and I don't even know how many other things. Oh, he wanted his bath drawn to 88 degrees Fahrenheit in a private email. I should not be talking about.
Isn't that inappropriate to be talking about private emails?
I'm not professional enough.
That's not what this is about. That's not what this panel is about.
God.
Oh, gosh.
I adore you all.
Thank you all so much. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to hang out with me for an hour and some change. I learned a lot. I hope everybody else did. And with that, we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.